We need attention from one another. I get fed by your appreciation, but you're a cherry on my cake. You're not my cake.
What allows us to experience that I can give loving attention to myself is that the people who matter to us, who feed us, who keep us alive, say, yes, I trust you. You can choose. This is who you are as an individual, and I want to support your uniqueness.
Well, hi, Katie.
Hello, Sophie. What a joy to see you. I always feel my breath expand when I see you, and I go, oh, fun is about to be had.
I woke up this morning and I looked at my schedule and I literally was like one delicious thing after the other. And of course, I ran into our time of recording and I was like, oh my God, my life, my day, my life. It's so good. It was really nice, like a nice.
Well, look what you've created. Yeah.
4 days of goodness, right?
Yeah, exactly. And moving toward what you really love to do and sharing that with others. I mean, what could be better?
That's a really nice tie-in. Thank you for saying that, because I was thinking about something my father said to me I was young, so years ago, some time ago. I had considered running a marathon. I didn't run it, but I was considered running a marathon. And my dad said, well, you're not going to win. So what's the point?
Oh, wow.
Right?
You're not going to win. So what's the point? Yeah. Boy. And I'm imagining that you had a real visceral response to that.
It was, I didn't run. So there's that. I didn't even try. But I was thinking about it because how much the opinion of others, particularly at an age where I was more, I don't think it would affect me now I would call you and we would laugh. So it would be a different thing. But as a child, as a young person, I think I was really affected. And I want to talk about validations from others and opinions of others.
Opinions and how much weight they have. And also the whole, is the point just to win?
Not to me.
Yes, but I think for so many people, the whole what's the point? What are we doing this for? And what are the things that we can achieve in life that will bring validation? And the whole, what I call exogenous world, which means caused from without, is that the orientation is if you're not getting that validation, that there's something wrong. And that's what we should be striving for is, the attagirl and attaboy and gosh, look what you're doing and look where that's going and you're going to beat everybody. And, that sense of competition that gets engendered so early, and it gets engendered. One of my friends was just sharing with me the other day that they've been studying, Stanford has been studying competition and looking at competition between men and women and women and men and women. And where they found the highest level of competition is
women to women
and women.
I'm not surprised. I knew exactly where you were going.
Yeah.
I knew exactly where you were going. That is really fascinating. And is it, do you think, a reflection, like self-hatred almost? Like we project onto the same gender of ourselves because what is it? Like, what is that, do you think?
Well, I was just remembering, it's so interesting that we're coming up with this today, but as I was just remembering over the weekend of how if I'm not achieving something, like when I was a kid, my brothers, I would always look at how come my brothers get to do that, but I don't get to do that? How come, they get to go and, and work on cars and, get that, get to hang out with my dad and, they were out there working on the cars and, fiddling with stuff. And the whole idea was to create a car that would race and that would win. The whole, competition, but it was something that I was just excluded from. It's like, you're not going to be interested in that. We're not going to include you. And that the whole women are and men do That whole stereotype that's been around for so very long. And then for women to get recognition, there's been this whole sense of you sort of have to become like men, and a focus on competition.
You have to do a lot.
You have to do a lot, and you have to sort of trample over other people and really sort of be above. It's this whole power over rather than, sharing with, cooperating, which is actually the way that in fact, it's the way we're conceived. We were, there's this whole thing like the first sperm there wins. Well, that's actually not true. That sperm actually looks like a bicycle race. When you see, motion pictures of them moving toward the egg, it really, it looks like the Tour de France. One moves in front, and then they're all protecting each other, and they're all moving together. And the big news on that is that the egg chooses. This is kind of a secret that people don't really even still know, that it's not the first sperm, that there's this thing called a cytoplasmic arm that reaches out and pulls in the sperm that is wanted.
Oh my Lord, that changes everything.
It changes everything. It changes everything. So our mythology is based on competition. And it's actually not the way that life occurs, even from moment one. And so, I think a lot of what we can do, we who are trying to form a different way of being together, and agreeing and working together and being together, which really has to do with cooperation and collaboration rather than I'm going to win and smash you.
I mean, it's funny, as you're talking, I was thinking, like, is it because of our age? We're not the same age exactly, but we're not 20. Neither one of us is 20.
No, not for a long time.
It was a while ago, a minute ago. But I was thinking, I don't think I was able to be, like, you and I love our lives. We were just talking about this at the beginning of the show. Like, we both do what we want, and we spend time with who we love, and we walk away from what doesn't, whatever. Like, not everyone certainly feels like they have that freedom.
Yes.
And I'm curious, like, to track it down. I think when I was not comfortable in my body, like I was, as you know, my struggle with weight, when I was 350 pounds, I was not as kind. I was not as happy with myself. I was not able to acknowledge others the same way. I really think there is a level of self-love that one has to have, maybe, to be able to, maybe, I don't know if I even know for sure what I'm saying, but I could see that my track record was that it's so much easier for me to be generous and kind and acknowledging now that I really love my life.
Well, I am hearing, what I was hearing is the what I call the reservoir metaphor. If I have not filled my own reservoir, I'm always going to be like, dealing with scarcity and, looking for who's getting more than me because I'm not getting enough. And I think part of that is that then we blame ourselves because we can't do that. But the whole culture is designed that you not feel good about yourself.
Right.
Especially for women, it's the whole design is, if you get this or you buy this or you try this or you change yourself in this way so that people look at you differently, then life will be better. It's not better now, but it will be out in the future. I mean, religion is designed that way. Capitalism is designed that way, that so you're having a bad time now, but after you die, it'll be better. So for each of us to take that personally, I think is a strategic error. And if life works in the way I think it's designed, from the moment you're born, you're looked at with caring. You are regarded with curiosity and, what is she going to become? And look at that. And isn't that wonderful what she's doing? And listen to those sounds, and a celebration of being. But what we recognize, that is Gay and I, early on, is that even at a certain point, your cuteness becomes, not so convenient for your caretakers. And so when you're being It's like, oh, there she still needs to be fed. And oh gosh, and she spit up again. And I know all of those things of your beingness. Then we start to develop roles, what we call doings. And our personas and roles are designed to get attention. And so I think that at the very bottom of this is the kind of attention that we give ourselves, that we're available for from others, and that we actually choose, that we choose people who give us that kind of the way that you and I regard each other. I would like everybody to have that experience of being celebrated and, just for being. But most of us haven't had that for many, many years. And so we look to outside for that. What do I need to do so that I can get that attention? Because without it, humans die. We have to have attention just as much as food and water. And we forget that because like we're competing and, once you get to be an adult, you shouldn't really need that. And, all that nonsense.
It's interesting because there's a little bit of dichotomy in what you're saying where we need attention from one another, and we do get fed by, like, I get fed by your appreciation, but you're a cherry on my cake. You're not my cake.
Exactly.
I don't walk away saying like, oh, Katie did not smile at me today.
Yeah, so I'm failed. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think where people get a little tripped is they become addicted to getting it from the outside because they don't have it when it works the other way. Like you're giving it to me because I'm giving it to myself, or I'm letting it in because I'm giving it to myself, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does make sense. And what I'm hearing underneath that is that you are willing to receive. So it is at a certain point, I think the equation is about, am I willing to receive love? Am I willing to receive attention? Am I willing to have people really look at me like, wow? Because I think for most of us, it trips our upper limit. It trips like, oh, I couldn't possibly, or the sense of I have to do something to deserve, and I have to keep doing it. Because there isn't, it's like having holes in your, holes in your reservoir so that it drains out. It leaks. So am I able to receive, and am I willing to actually think well of myself?
Yeah. I mean, as you said that, I was thinking maybe when I first met you, actually, certainly along those years, I used to have this sentence in my head along the lines of, if only you knew me. Like you would say something nice to me and I would immediately go like, well, good, I tricked her because I'm not these things. But yet I knew that I was these things. Like there was a part of me that probably is the war that sometimes people experience in themselves, because I think there is a part of us that's still connected to the innocence and the kid that's all wonder and beauty. And I run into this person's arm. I didn't know them, but I hugged them and, that thing. And then, of course, society does what society does. And then we covered it up. But I think it's like the sunshine. It's still behind the clouds. And I think we know it, right? And we kind of like try to get back to.
Well, and I think also yearn for it, that sense of deep connection. Because I think what actually occurs there is that we have a sense of connection, that here we are in the same space. I'm safe, you're safe, and we're exchanging. We're really giving and receiving attention in an open way, in a free way that's nourishing for both of us. And I think that's at the base what so many people long for and want to give to others. So this whole thing that we've been talking about at other times about our ability to receive. If everybody's givers,
who are they giving to?
If everybody's going on, let me fill your cup, then everybody's cup is full.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. It's funny. A friend of mine who listens to the show, actually, so she'll probably smile at this moment. But when I first met her, we became, when sometimes you just fall in love with someone. I mean, in some, not in love, but, in something that's like,
sure,
the soul is like so, and you know that they're going to be friends. And But then she had to go away for, the summer here is hot. And so she was going away. But I said something like, we just met. You're like a dearest friend and you're already leaving. Like, it'd be fun to have more time. And she was so touched by that. She was so touched because of the generosity of the moment, maybe, or of course, for me, it was like spontaneous. It was come in.
Of course it was spontaneous. And but what I hear both of you saying is that you experienced that, the medicine of attention.
Yeah.
The what humans are really designed to do, and what we missed so much during the pandemic, was just getting together and sort of vibrating together. Yeah. We used to use an image, of that relationships that humans are just like amoebas. We're these energy, and we're buzzing. And amoebas, what they do is they go thwack and they go, and then they unthwack and they go off to do that with somebody else.
Yeah.
So, if you've ever been at any party, that's what goes on. People, amoebas, they go, and then, oh, thank you, boof, and then off to amoeba with somebody else. And that sense of exchanging attention doesn't really even have to do with content. It's the nourishment of, just the enjoyment of the being, the dance of being between you.
Do you sense a difference between attention and connection? Do you think it's...
Yes. Yes. Well, I think of attention as, I think first of that there's awareness, awareness and awake. So if I'm asleep in there, and, I'm not really, I'm just sort of, cruising along and bumping along and, wherever the energy is, then I don't really have choice. But when I start choosing, how to use my attention, that's the beginning of connecting in a way that is, has freedom in it, that I can decide how long and with whom and how much. And do I want to be primarily receiving, or do I want to give more, or do I want to give? And see the whole dance of that, I start being able to choose. And as I'm getting filled up with just the juiciness of, you say something and then I go, oh yeah, I had that, but all that goes on. It's really the amoeba, and our cells just celebrate that. We celebrate that.
Oh, that was good. Oh, I don't know. It's good. That's really interesting, because if we go back to this notion at the beginning of self-love and being able to give attention to ourselves, because it is like, I used to not give attention to myself. I was focused on others. I was focused on, people's opinions. And when I was at a restaurant, I was always about what are they eating and what can I eat in front of them or not. I mean, like this.
Oh, yes. Oh, I told it. And all those decisions about how much should I eat and should I wait for them to eat first, and all of that.
I mean, all of it. It's such a regulated for no reason, because really I could be eating my thing, you're eating your thing. It's like we're together. It's like, who cares? But somehow, I was going to say, it feels connected to deserving. Like in order for you to be able to say to me, you're this glorious human in all these different ways that you say that to me, I have to be able to be like, I know, like immersion of like, I agree with you, because otherwise it lands on something that's like, if that's not what I believe of myself, if I don't like myself, or love myself, then what you say becomes like what do I do with that? Like, I don't know where to put that. And so it becomes a conflictual thing as opposed to and I do think that came with experience and time for me.
We experience in time, but what I'm guessing preceded that was your willingness to open more and more to actually loving yourself as you are in the moment. And so again, I just want to say society does not want us to do that. So it really is an incredibly revolutionary act. And I was just remembering with infants that I've been around, and it's not just the way that they're touched. So the first thing is, how are you cared for?
Okay.
So I think we learn to care for ourselves the way that we're looked at and cared for. So I, for example, was a Spock baby. That meant that I got fed on a schedule. And so if I were hungry, too bad. I had just
Not the right time.
It wasn't, and that was supposed to be designed to, sort of help regulate me, like an infant needs regulation. So all of that craziness that, in caring for infants and children, that's changing some, but I don't think really that much. That really healthy children that I've seen, what they're able to do as soon as they can reach, because before then you're not organized enough to be able to reach. As soon as they can reach and choose, they can begin going, ooh, I like this, I don't like that. I want this, I don't want that. And when our caregivers go, oh, she doesn't like peas. He likes peas, but she doesn't like peas. So don't give her peas. She doesn't like them. That validation of my choices have meaning. My choices make a difference. That what I like, just because, and someone will, because I've heard people say to their kids, well, why don't you like that? There's nothing wrong with it. You're going to sit here until you eat that.
Finish your plate.
You finish your plate because the starving children, et cetera. Like in my family, if I didn't finish what was on my plate, it literally meant that I didn't love my mother.
Yes.
It meant that my mother had failed, that everything else she'd done in my life was all ruined.
Oh my. What a responsibility.
It was a tremendous responsibility. And so I think that part of what allows us to experience that I can give loving attention to myself is that the people who matter to us, who feed us, who keep us alive, say, yes, I trust you. You can choose. This is who you are as an individual, and I want to support your uniqueness. And my sense is, too, that we can experience that at any time of life, especially if we recognize where some of those patterns, got instilled in us, that we can change. So all that food stuff, I shared that as well, in many ways. And now the freedom that I experience around food, just the amount of attention that I don't pay to it gives me free attention to, shift to other things that I'm enjoying, that I might want to do, and connecting with others, rather than being scared all the time that, somehow there's something wrong with me and people are going to find out.
I mean, look at how it's set up that way. Like I was thinking of being in school, like you want to get up, they tell you to sit down. You want to study math now? No, it's later. You want to eat now? No, the bell rings to tell you that you got to go and eat. Like what a nervous system, Pavlovian trauma, really.
Yes.
So to be back to a little bit to our theme today, if there is one. I love the way we do that. Back a little bit to the notion of validation of others. We started from like you talked about peas. I mean, put a sweater, but I'm not cold. Don't go out, you don't go in the rain, but I love the rain. It's like, I love.
You are not going out wearing that dress.
Exactly. But we also not saying, because I remember when my kid came out one day and she wanted to go to school and she was wearing like a torn thing and all the things. And I said something, that was the very first moment I realized I had a teenager, by the way, because I said, I don't think you're wearing this today. And she said, I don't care about what you think.
Yep. Welcome to teenage.
Welcome to a few years of that. But my point though there is something to some boundaries. Like I think I've learned also, I like what I've become. So from all these things, somehow I emerged, desired to find out who I was because it was taken away from me so much.
Yes. Yes. And, I also, I think if you have somebody in your life, it doesn't have to be a parent, but somebody in your life who sees you.
Yeah.
Who just sees your essence and wants to support your essence in who you are at your core, from expanding and being shared more and more in the world, and asks you things like, what is it that you really want?
Wow.
How can I support you? It looks like you really love music, and I can tell you're kind of having a little trouble with it right now. And is there anything I can do to support you in getting some mastery of the music so you can really enjoy it even more? So that I'm joining with you to what you really want. At that really deepest level. And if we have even just one person, so like for me, one of those people was my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Morgan,
who do you remember so many years later?
I do. Well, because she changed my life.
Wow.
Because up until then, I hated school. And because first, when I got into school, the first thing they said was, you can't move, you got to sit.
Yes, that starts right there.
You got to sit, and you got to sit now, and you can't get up and move when you want to. And so she noticed that I was a fidgeter and said, you can go ahead and sit in the back of the class and you can move as much as you want to.
Oh my God. Just hearing you say that, my nervous system went down 2 notches. Oh.
My whole nervous system is so I literally went overnight from being a C student to being an A student.
Yep.
Because I could move. So, because I can't, if I don't move, I can't think.
I've seen that. I've seen you literally start moving so you can get your juice.
Yeah, so I can get my thinking going.
Yeah. Wow. Like, it's crazy how so many years later, literally when you said that, my nervous system did calm down. So what? It was just not calm from not having heard that, literally.
Literally. And so I think that the gift that each of us can give to even strangers that we meet is giving our curious attention. And just what I also was hearing, the word regard.
Yeah.
That I look at other people, I regard them as humans, as potentials. I look at them with curiosity and wonder, and they can see me looking at them with curiosity.
Yeah.
And I see it's like flowers blooming.
Yeah.
I see when I do that, people's faces light up. And so I know that it makes a difference. And then because I'm willing to receive as well as to give, I get the goodies from like, oh, that felt so good to me too. Because it's not either yours or mine. It becomes a shared experience. That I think that's really what people are longing for is, here we are together. We're sort of, in the playpen, or we're in the sandbox together, and we, whether we do anything or not, here we are together.
Oh, wow. As it's funny, in closing, I'd love to reflect to you how, and I've known you for enough years to have seen the evolution. I feel like there was already plenty that had happened, but just to watch someone be so alive and so hungry for life and so deliciously letting it in and sharing it. I mean, it truly, you need one person in the world that does that. And that you're right, that it's not, we don't need that much, and it lands on something that's already, like we said earlier, like the cherry on the cake. When you do that back to me, we share the cake together. Like, I get to show up back to you and you get to show up back to me. And it's just like, imagine if the whole world, my God, are we slightly romantic here?
Well, that's what I'm imagining. And that's what I imagine every day. And and I also know I know very well what we're up against right now. And so I'm committing at an even deeper level to let my presence be a source of connection, and a source of wonder, and also a source of love that we can, love, I think of as really being willing to be in the same space with.
Yeah.
So, and when I'm willing to do that, and I'm willing to be in the same space with you, we really open up a brand new space that we can all enjoy. And I'm imagining that people who are listening will get a taste of that also, of like, oh yeah. Because once we get that, that's what our nervous system is going to start to prefer.
And then people will have a reference point. People will be like, oh, that tasted better. That tasted better than criticism and judgment. And harshness and all these other things.
Yeah.
So, wow. Well, I feel like you fed me exactly as such in this moment. Thank
Yay!
you. Oh, the sleeves on your shirt. What? Are we not I mean, people, please go see YouTube. This is like you look like a magician, like a
Yes, yes.
beautiful. Thank you again. I love you.
I love you. Thank you.